Hmm. Yesterday I did talk on breath number 5, but I couldn't send it because net blew out. Okay, so we'll talk on something quite normal nowadays. It shouldn't be, but unfortunately it has become standard and normal. And that is the inability of people to follow instructions when they are doing a spiritual practice. The reason why I'm saying this is because somebody was doing the breaths, and one person was doing the breaths twice a day, and the other person was fortunately had got up only to breath number 4 and was doing the breaths 49 times each. So the reason I came to know that this was being done 49 times was because I asked how much time does it take you, and I said 1 hour 15 minutes. I'm like, what? How you only up to breath number 4? How does it take you 1 hour 15 minutes? It takes that much time. So this is inattention. This is inattention and unawareness, because nowhere in the books or the instructions can the person claim that because of that I have made the mistake. But there's a much deeper problem here. There is a not a problem, but there is a structure and a setting in yoga where if you are doing a process, you don't try to be creative with it as soon as you start. Yoga has been going on for a phenomenally long time in India, and people have explored all these processes, all these sadhanas, all these kriyas, all these techniques to the penultimate millimeter. They know exactly what it does, how it does, and then when they give instructions, then when they set parameters that do it in this way, there are very good reasons why. Now, this compulsive creativity that seems to be some kind of social value today, where everybody wants to constantly display creativity, that has started seeping into yoga. And the first manifestation of it was what the Americans have done with yoga, because how American yoga is a whole different belief system and process than what is happening in India. It's a whole California yoga. That's what. Okay, that's still all right. It's just they don't do any of the deeper spiritual processes. They're just fooling around with the asanas. That is okay, even though that is also wrong. But yoga is not a democracy. Yoga is very unashamedly a hierarchy. There are people ahead of you, there are people at the same level as you, and there are people behind you. And one of the very difficult things when we are in a process, when we are in a sadhana, when we are in a spiritual process, is just accurately slotting ourselves. Exactly where have we reached? The problem is most people who come to these things come with a default setting of delusion anyway. They come with this hyper imagination, and then some kriya is done, some meditation is done, some mantra is done, the Shakti begins to move little bit inward, and that's it. The delusion becomes much worse. And they somehow manage to find some groups of people who will assure them that you are on the verge of significance, you can heal the world, you're a very important person, you're a very special soul, you're a very old soul, you have deep, and all this is proof that it is superficiality, because the real hardcore paramparas, the real authentic paramparas, they do not mollycoddle in any way. People complain that I do not validate or I do not pay attention to whatever seemed to be there, and if only they knew how I learnt. I am so pleasant and kind, when if only they knew how you are taught, how the real old style people teach, if they knew, and people don't want to be criticized, people don't want to be judged, people don't want to be pointed out that you're making a mistake. Now you will be judged. In yoga, what you do will be judged. If you're blundering, criticism will follow. If you're going someplace wrong, warnings will be issued. But because we have come to this place where don't be judgmental basically means don't say anything that will upset my feelings, the two are completely different, but it's almost as if the only right you have as a teacher or as a yogi is that you can outline the process and then everybody is independent to follow and implement in any manner that they please. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. If you're coming to a yogic process, you bloody well follow instructions, because there will be trouble. When the kundalini rises, quite apart from all the physical discomfort, the emotional and the mental discomfort, if it is not controlled, if it is not monitored, if somebody is not carefully observing and advising what can happen, how many people, at least I think 30-35% of people in the lunatic asylums of the world are not lunatics, they're just people with very strong kundalini episode that ran out of control. They don't need medication, they don't need drugs, they need a yogi to tell them, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to calm down, you need to do this breath, you need to drink more water, something like that. But because these things are not understood, there are unfortunate consequences. Now, if you are doing a very hardcore process, whether it is a havan or it is a mantra or it is some kind of asana or it is a combination of all that, there will inevitably be reactions in your body, in your mind, in your emotion and in your interior dimension. And you need a mentor. That is why the parampara is there, the lineage is there, not so that the older people can harass you and bully you and order you about and feel nice about themselves. Though that tends to happen because that is human nature, but the truth of the matter is it is a waste of their time. The older people in the lineage, it is a waste of their time. They could be actually fruitfully using that time in their own progress, but they know it was done for them. Now they have to transmit that value forward. They were monitored, they were helped, now somebody else is going through the same issues. I remember the first time my students would come back and tell me this is happening, that would happening, I would start laughing and they would be very puzzled and upset. Why is he laughing? And I would be like, now I'm not alone, you see. I had gone through all this so many years back and now welcome to the club, like we so as those experiences happen to them, they suddenly start realizing, good Lord, he went through all this. But you cannot, and here is the other paradox. Those people who are in creative professions, they understand the need for discipline. You don't have to tell the dancer or the singer or the painter or the sculptor that you need discipline, you need patience, because they know, they have gained their craft and their skill over long years of apprentice and training. Those people take to these kind of processes instantly. You tell them this is the rule, these are how it is to be done, they follow instructions. The people who just have this vague desire to be creative, because nowadays it has become like some kind of compulsion in people, even corporates, creative thinking, creative problem solving, creative brainstorming, everything creative, 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 creative. They have tremendous problems. And this false sense of equality and democracy that everybody has, that my opinion or my feeling on a matter is as vajandar, as weighty, as valuable as somebody who spent their whole life dedicated to this one thing. It is insanity, but that seems to be the default. Why is my opinion not being taken seriously? Because you've not paid your dues. You haven't lived with that process for the number of years that the other person has lived. I keep saying, your ignorance is not as valuable as my knowledge. It might be a feeling you have, but keep it to yourself. Nobody is interested. That apparently is a very unforgivable thing to say in today's context. You should not hurt anybody's feeling, and truth is more important than feelings. But that's not. When yoga creates rules, yoga is fundamentally about setting people free. Yoga is fundamentally about shaking people from their limitations. Whatever our constrictions, whatever our habits, in all ways, yoga is about setting you free. If that philosophy or if that system tells you these are the rules, then for damn good reasons. If they tell you when doing this process, don't do this. When doing this process, please make sure to do these. If they give these parameters, then that is the basic bare minimum that is required. Now, either you learn this the hard way, or you blunder and you create some issue, you create some block, you don't progress, and then you say, oh, that is not working. In our breaths, what is the number one reason why the breaths don't work as much as they should? Because the people won't do the exhalation as it is told, as it is taught to them. No matter what you tell, that conditioning and that inhibition remains, and it's like that entire hissing like a serpent that is so necessary becomes the big mental block and the emotional block. Now, yes, you can be patient about it. It takes sometimes people 3-4 months before they can do one proper exhalation. But the fact of the matter remains, if you don't do that exhalation as it is demonstrated to you, you will not be able to get the benefits. It is not the fault of the system. It is the fault of the fact that you are not doing as prescribed. I really do not know what to do about this, because again and again and again you run across this, and I have seen it not just when I am teaching the breaths. I have seen it everywhere. It's a number one problem in ashrams. It's a number one problem in systems where people think they know better. And in many ways, the worst is a person who's gone to 3-4 places. The spiritual shopper, the person, or the spiritual tourist, the person who has gone and done all the systems. But over there they teach it like that. Over here this is done. Now, of course, there are some variations. And nowadays it's there in books and everything, but normally something like Shambhavi Mudra, for instance, would not be taught until the person had come into some kind of samadhi. Until the person was in the habit of going into samadhi regularly, Shambhavi Mudra wouldn't be taught. Today it's taught all over the place. So there were certain traditional rules. Now the fact that these rules are being broken by some people or some organizations, it is causing a lot of controversy amongst the yogis and the spiritual people. The word kriya has become a one size fit all for everything. That again is causing a lot of controversy. But those are still manageable. When you are doing a process, why would you learn a process from a person who you think does not know the ramifications of that, does not know the consequences of doing that, does not have adequate experience with that? If you think you know better than the person you are learning from, why are you learning from that person? In anything. Now again, this is this modern equality disease. Everybody is equal before the law because there should not be any injustice, but that does not mean everybody is equal in capability and ability and knowledge. And life is unequal, life is hierarchical. You're learning from somebody who's experienced, or you're learning from somebody who's mastered a certain process. Why would you bring your limitation to the table and say, here, take this equally seriously? Or make accommodations for that? Why should they make accommodation for it? The point of a yogic process is not to strengthen your limitation. The point of a yogic process is not to encourage you in your delusions. Any kind of process which is deepening your habits, any kind of process which is reconfirming you in all the things that you thought were valid, I doubt very much if that's a genuine yogic process. A genuine yogic process always makes you uncomfortable. A genuine yogic process always makes you question, always makes you feel a little disconcerted. Now that's why they say don't learn from a teacher, don't accept somebody as a guru that you are too comfortable with, because then you might just be a similarity of perception and value systems, and so you all are both in harmony, fine. Where is the growth? The growth can happen only if the person is constantly challenging you, only the person is constantly pushing you, or the person, because of his or her experience, is able to show you aspects that you have not considered because it never occurred to you or it was never in your experience. So they do say that don't learn from somebody you're completely comfortable. It's not the same as don't judge whether the person is honest in their relationships or honest about money or honest about sexuality. That's totally different ballgame. All that is valid. But just too much acceptance is not good, or too much comfort is not good. Because if the person is a genuine teacher, they'll always shock you. They'll always end up really giving you one jhatka or one jolt, and then you will be like, okay, I made a mistake about this person, or I never thought that side was possible. But they will do what is needed. They are not there to confirm you in all your biases and all your limitations and all your ignorance. They are there to shatter all that. If it is a genuine yogic process, if it is just something that you are doing so that you feel better and sleep better, okay, that's different. That's no different from any other form of exercise or any other form of therapy. But a yogic process is always a spiritual process. And why would you learn a spiritual process from a person you have no confidence in? Because by your action, that's what you're demonstrating. You're demonstrating that I believe that this person does not know and I know better. Why would you learn from that person? It completely flabbergasts me. And this tinkering with the process. Many teachers do invent new kriyas, new asanas, new methods of sadhana, new methods of meditation. It is true. But at the end, when they feel the life energy running out, when they feel the prana shakti is leaving and there are 5-6 months left to live, that is when they all put it together. How can I culminate all my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience and my shakti? What can I put it into? And that's when they create a new kind of system or a new kind of process or something, and that is the culmination of their life's work. Not that yesterday you started teaching and tomorrow you already started experimenting with the process, or you've started learning a process. And why just in yoga, even in tarot, people pick up a pack of cards, read 1.5 books, and that's it. They're an expert. And they start doling out advice to the whole world. This is the reason why basically I'm very careful about who I teach tarot anymore, because I don't want people to go around saying that, we learned from Rohit. Rohit Arya taught us. I'm like, no, you attended a class, I didn't teach you. There's a big difference between the two. Anyways. But in all processes, and again I see this, without the necessary discipline, how do you hope to attain? Then I understood why. Because people are not willing to put in effort, people are not willing to be patient. They are coming for Asterix's magic potion. We did this process, wow, wings, in 2 months time, wings sprout from our back and we will be going regularly to the astral regions and coming back with messages from the great masters. And man, because this, in a sense, this is a very irrational thing to do, because rational people understand that it takes time to learn a new skill, it takes time to learn a new process. And here is the deeper tragedy: all the genuine yogis I know are hyper rational people. They do not want anything to do with supernatural and superstitious. While they do understand that there are quite strange things in the world and the universe, there are strange episodes possible, they tend to be very much don't go there. And everybody wants miracles, everybody wants chamatkar. Why are we going so far? We have people here who travel hoping to see. And they're very disappointed when I refuse to go there. There are people who want to see, and this desire for wonders, this desire for excitement, that is the problem. The wonders will come, the excitement will come, but it requires a certain amount of dedication. I remember even in the Bible, Jesus, poor fellow, even he used to be constantly plagued by people because they discovered that he had abilities, and he was not very experienced. He died only when he was 33. If he was a slightly older spiritual master, he would have been very careful. He was in his excitement. I think he showed too many powers and abilities too early. So they were plaguing him, and he actually said, "But that you have signs and wonders, you will not believe." And then he got angry and he said, "You are an evil and adulterous generation." Because the desire for the miraculous also was not a spiritual desire, it was a sensual desire. That is why he said you are an evil and adulterous generation. And even in the Buddha's lifetime, there was a story where one of his disciples wanted to impress the new town they had gone in, so he sent his begging pole up the town flag post to the top, and then he sent it down. With his Shakti, he managed to make it go up to the top and then come down. So this was reported to the Buddha. He created a sensation and he said, "That's it. Whatever we could have done here is lost, because in what way was that a spiritual thing? In what way is that conducive to ending suffering?" Which is the point of what we are teaching. We are teaching people something very practical. We are teaching people how to overcome this. So it was this is not conducive to the cessation of suffering. That's all he said. So, and people come with these, I don't know, is it projection, is it expectation, but most of all it is a sense of people come to be validated. People come with this sense of inflated sense of self, inflated sense of being special. People come to be validated. I know somebody who used to go into what seemed to be very fantastic state of meditation and everything, and very bluntly one day, then my guru and then me, both of us separately, had to tell that person, what you think is some kind of deep attainment on your part is just the tamasic state. You're just going over there and you're just becoming inert. It's not a vibrant spiritual attainment on your part. So naturally that is not liked, because this is the problem. People think because I can sit for 1 hour in meditation, therefore I am special. How you sit also matters. Man, it's frustrating, but Not that there is any danger per se in yoga, but people who could have accomplished or attained and could have broken through, could have sped up their evolution, because of this foolish behavior on their part, they lose their chance, or they become completely derailed. Somebody is doing a process. If this process is good, I should do it 2 times a day. But this process is wonderful, let me add some hallucinatory drugs to it. It will really speed me up. And then they will quote in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras also, it is mentioned. Aushadhi is mentioned as one of the. So I'll do one of the. And what happens? They burn their entire whatever nadi system has been created is completely burnt to ashes. Then whatever sadhana they do is spent in repairing all that damage. Not just at the nadis, because then if the nadi system is damaged, it almost inevitably has a neurological component to it. Then the neurological system has to be brought back onto track. Then patiently now you have to recreate. In your pranamaya kosha, you have to recreate a whole nadi system. Nadis form, they start crossing each other, then chakras form, then the energy stabilizes. You've just made your own life difficult. Merely because you're not following instructions and you're following your egoic path. In spirituality, the first thing you learn is that I have to be humble. I cannot come here with my ego and my brashness and my theoretical knowledge, because most of this is from books or somebody told them. The people who have even 5 minutes of genuine experience and ability, they become exceedingly humble because they realize the mountains that are left to climb. Those with genuine attainments always know one needs to be careful about this. This is not something to get puffed up about. And those who are bouncing about with excitement, it's usually all futile. It's usually all wrong turns that they are taking. But the core for me is this: why would you learn if you think you know better? If you know better, why would you learn from a person? Because that person has a technique that you don't. You don't respect the technique also. You don't even respect the person teaching you. Okay, sometimes that happens, but you're not even respecting the technique. You're not even respecting the process. Then why? What do you hope to gain from something where the person teaching you don't respect, the process you don't respect, and still you think you're going to gain value from it? Why would you do that? It's a default setting today. It's mind-boggling. That doesn't work in yoga. Yoga is very brutal. Yoga is very, very truthful and honest. Either it's happening or it is not. And yogis also tend to be like that. Either they can see that you're progressing or you're not. If you're progressing, they'll tell you. If you're not, they'll tell you even more. That second part nobody likes. I should not be criticized. I should not be held accountable. I went for help and I was told do this and do that. Why would the person use the Shakti and fix your life problems? The person is teaching you to develop your own Shakti so that you can fix your own life problems. Instead of taking responsibility for yourself, no, that person is cruel, that person is not compassionate, he or she refused to help me. These are the kind of attitudes, these are the kind of belief systems that we have to engage with. I understand now why they used to do, it used to be called waiting outside the gate. Almost all the spiritual traditions of the world, this person would come and say, I want to learn, and they'd make you sweat. They'd make you wait to see how genuine. If you're rejected, you're made to wait a week, 2 weeks, will you just get upset and irritated and go away? Now I understand that. Now I understand the reason why, because unless you can see that test of seriousness, and then of course people defend the time invested, because I waited here 3 months, now I have to learn something and go. And nowadays everything is available. As soon as somebody asks, it is available. So the value is not there. So, yeah, but it's tragic. But at least as people in a process, we should not encourage this line of thinking. No, this line of thinking should not be encouraged. The rules are the rules, and they are there for damn good reasons, and they are there for your protection. They are not there for any egoic reasons of the parampara or the teacher. They are there for your protection. The rules are the rules. Instructions are instructions. They are not open to. They are not open to negotiation. Sarvam Shyam.